Hendrick Motorsports picked up right where they left off last year. Toyota showed some early promise, and the Fords, they've got a little work to do. Welcome to the garage. Kyle Larson earns a dominant win at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the Pennzoil 400. He led 181 laps. He won both stages and the final race. It seemed like Tyler Reddick, he was hounding him a little bit at the end of each stage, at the end of the race, but Larson held him off when it mattered the most. Tyler Reddick, though, in second, he had a great showing for Toyota. Toyota in general had a great day, had 4 cars inside the top 8. Reddick surprisingly seemed a little frustrated after the race, though. It could have had to do with his team. His pit crew did him no favors on pit road. It could have had to do with Larson's dominance. It's pretty disheartening when a guy is that good and you just can't pass him. Or it could have been the fact that, yeah, he couldn't pass him because of this aero blocking situation that's kind of hounded us in this new next-gen car. It seems like at a lot of tracks now with the next-gen car, it's really hard to pass the leader if the leader takes your line away. The finish in Las Vegas on Sunday, yeah, it was underwhelming, especially if you're comparing it to the finishes at Atlanta and at Daytona, the controversial, big, exciting finishes. In the closing laps, it looked like Reddick had something for Larson. It looked like he could challenge. It looked like we could get another amazing finish. But it didn't happen because even though Reddick was making ground on the top line, if Larson moved up and took his line away, Reddick's car would lose its handle and he could not get by him. We saw this situation in Phoenix. It almost cost Ryan Blaney a championship in November because he got so fed up with Ross Chastain air blocking. I don't know how frequent this is going to be, but I do feel like if it's going to be a long-term thing, we got a bit of a problem. Speaking of problems, let's talk about Kyle Busch's pit crew. The number 8 crew now has 4 pit penalties in 3 races this season. The troubles started early for Kyle Busch when they had an extended pit stop due to not getting a lug nut on properly. Kudos to the team, though, for picking up on the mistake. I mean, they still made a mistake nonetheless, but at least getting that lug nut tight and taking an extra 2 seconds is a lot better than the wheel falling off and DNFing. That was their first mistake. Their second mistake came in a late race round of green flag pit stops where they pitted the car outside of the box. Now, of course, pitting outside of the box, that's mainly on the driver. But if you're right on that line, the driver can't really tell. That's more on the tire changer, the tire carrier, the crew chief for not saying, hey, back up. It's just a matter of seconds to have the driver back up, but it's going to cost you a few laps to get that pass-through penalty, and that's what happened to the 8 team. Kyle Busch had a great car. He looked like he can contend with Larson. He could definitely contend with Reddick. It was easily a top 5, maybe even a top 3 day for Kyle Busch, but the 8 team keeps shooting themselves in the foot. They rallied back at Atlanta. They were involved in that amazing finish. They kind of rallied back at Daytona, but could not rally back at Las Vegas. Another team that had some early issues was William Byron and the 24 team. Byron looked great on Sunday too. He looked just like he was in his 2023 form again. He even went from 8th to the lead in 1 lap on a restart. But it all came crashing down when he picked up the biggest piece of debris that I think I've ever seen get on the grill of a race car. It was an entire trash bag. Like, I have never seen anything like that before. As you can imagine, the car quickly overheated. He had to pit, he got mired in the back, and the car really was never the same. But the team was able to rally back and get a top 10 finish, so good for the 24 team. That is how championships are won. You face adversity, you overcome it, and you ultimately come out with a better result than you probably otherwise should have had. I absolutely need to give a shout out to Spire Motorsports for their performance on Sunday and really their performance so far this entire season, including the Truck Series as well. Spire Motorsports is so far perfect in the Truck Series. Nick Sanchez won his race at Daytona. That's a Spire prepared truck. Kyle Busch got the win at Atlanta. And how about Roger Carruth getting it done at Las Vegas, becoming only the 3rd African-American driver to win a NASCAR race in one of the top 3 series. Congratulations to him. But Spire's performance on Sunday was extremely impressive. Zane Smith hit the wall on lap 3. He went 12 laps down, was never really a factor. But Corey LaJoie and Carson Hocevar had great days, and their finishes do not show how they ran. At one point, both cars were running up in the top 12. Corey LaJoie was up in the top 5. He got stage points in this race. It wasn't due to chance or luck or fuel mileage. Like, they were up there competing. Corey LaJoie ended up getting crashed in an incident with Brad Keselowski. Late race green flag pit stops kind of mired back Carson Hocevar a little bit. He ended up finishing 15th. But man, if Spire can keep their cars up front and run well, especially at the intermediate tracks, they might have something for a playoff spot. Now, do I think they're going to win? I'm going to pump the brakes there. I don't think Spire Motorsports will get a Cup Series win yet this season. Although if they keep winning a bunch of truck races, that's going to be revenue coming into their program. But they did a lot this offseason. They moved into the old KBM shop. They got a whole bunch of new people. They're really building something special at Spire Motorsports, and it's really starting to show on the racetrack. And I gotta say, I know that we're only 3 races in, but I'm going to give an overreaction. I think Carson Hocevar is my early favorite to win Rookie of the Year. And that helps me perfectly transition into my next point. Josh Berry is Carson Hocevar's fiercest rival for Rookie of the Year, and I don't think that team has it. I was listening to the teardown after the race on Sunday, and Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck were talking very highly of Stewart-Haas Racing. They were saying that they could be the comeback kids, and maybe they had a little more to contend with than they anticipated. And to that, I say respectfully, what race were you watching? Stewart-Haas Racing had 2 cars finish outside of the top 20, 1 car finish in 20th in Josh Berry, and then 1 car finish in the top 10 in Noah Gragson. They got 0 stage points in this race, and they were never really a factor until Noah Gragson was up in the top 10 late in the race. And it just makes me wonder, what standards are we setting for Stewart-Haas Racing right now? Because this is a team that was contending for championships not 2 years ago. Stewart-Haas Racing has been in the news a lot lately. Of course, they lose Kevin Harvick. That's a big blow. Reports are coming out that Tony Stewart might not be as involved as he used to be. Maybe he's going to sell his portion of the team. Maybe Stewart-Haas Racing is going to go to Honda sometime in the near future. Of course, they just got hit with that big roof rail penalty, putting a few of their drivers in a deep points hole. But I think maybe one of the biggest problems that they have, and this is going to sound controversial because I've never driven a race car before, but it might be due to some of the talent they have behind the wheel. Now, don't get me wrong, Stewart-Haas Racing is one of my favorite teams right now in the Cup Series because you look at their roster, and it's not a bunch of rich guys, not a bunch of guys with names. It's not a bunch of guys with big sponsors that will back them and follow them wherever they go. No, you've got some drivers on your team. Chase Briscoe used to go sleep on his friends' couches and go order off the value menu at Taco Bell every night just to get something to eat. Ryan Preece cut his teeth on the short tracks and the modifieds. Josh Berry is a Dale Jr. prospect. And of course, Noah Gragson, he's young, he's fresh, he worked his way up the ranks just like anybody else should. That's a blue-collar team, and it's a good team of good race car drivers. But it just seems like they can't put it all together. The only driver, and again, we're only 3 races in, but the only driver who I'm seeing giving me anything so far is Noah Gragson. He has 2 top 10 finishes so far this season. That's 2 more top 10 finishes than he got last year with Legacy Motor Club. And we shouldn't even count Atlanta, to be honest with you. He DNF'd on lap 2. He didn't even have a chance to show what he could do at Atlanta. I avoid that race. I don't count that race. So let's say he only has 2 races. He has 2 top 10s. And what makes that so impressive is it's clear that the equipment might not be there. The resources might not be there. So I don't know what you could possibly see to say that Stewart-Haas Racing could contend this year, that they're going to be, that they're comeback worthy, but they've got a lot of work to do, man. We look at some of these Ford teams. Obviously, Penske, they're the top dog. I would go as far as to say maybe Front Row Motorsports has a bit of an edge early on RFK. RFK's been a little quiet so far in these first 3 races. Then it's RFK, and then it's Stewart-Haas. But there are still so many unknowns so far in this season. We're only 3 races in. This time last year, we had guys like Justin Haley and Austin Cindric looking like they could possibly be contenders, and they were not. Next week, we head off into Phoenix. Ross Chastain won the most previous race there. Ryan Blaney won the championship there. So be on the lookout for a pre-race show and maybe some power rankings. I can definitely change my power rankings list up a little more. If you haven't seen my previous power rankings video, go check that out. And now before I go, I posted on my Instagram story, I said, ask me a question. It could be about me. It could be about the show. It could be about racing. It could be about anything. And I got quite a few responses, but there was one person in particular who I wanted to respond to. This question comes in from NASCAR Sky. She is an OG supporter on Instagram, on TikTok, now on YouTube. I owe it to her to at least answer her question, and guess what? her page is on the rise. Yes, she's been gaining a lot of followers on Instagram. Link to her page will be in the description below. Go check her out, go give her a follow. But now here's her question. She says, what track would you like to see repaved like Atlanta, if any at all? And now I have actually answered this question in one of my previous videos, but I'll answer it again because we're getting a lot of new subscribers and new viewers, and that's amazing. So maybe you haven't heard my answer to this yet, but Texas, please. Take Texas off the schedule right now, rip it apart, make the banking higher, do whatever you need to do, and give us that same Atlanta product at Texas. You would take Texas from probably the worst, or at least a bottom 3 track on the schedule right now, to top 5, top 10 status overnight. Virtually overnight, you would change that place. You would sell that place out. You would get the ratings all the way up. That's my opinion. That's my controversial opinion. I know a lot of people don't like the 1.5 miles to a super speedway type track deal, but I don't know. I like it. So that's really all I have for you today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new here, because heck, I am new here, so I know you're new here. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, comment down below. Be sure to follow on Instagram. If you're a NASCAR fan and you are not following NASCAR Time on Instagram, you're a fake fan. You're a fake fan. I'm going to give you a chance, though. I'm going to give you a chance to go down in the link below, the one that says NASCAR Time, and go follow the page. If you want NASCAR news, updates, rumors, that's the page for you. I mean, why wouldn't you follow? It's a little iffy there, but I'll give you a chance. Go down below, hit the link, give me a follow. And why don't you follow me on TikTok, too? The link's down there as well. I will see you later this week for a Phoenix pre-race show and some power rankings. Until then, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, you are the best. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.